1987, 2021, a labor of love was born right in the offices of the Association of Puerto Rican Executive Directors, an organization that I had the honor of leading at that time. APRED was composed of the leading Puerto Rican organizations in New York City. Organizations such as ASPIDA, PERLDEF, the Institute for the Puerto Rican and Hispanic Elderly, the Committee for Hispanic Families and Children, the Puerto Rican Family Institute, the National Puerto Rican Forum, Promesa, Inc., Loisaida, El Puente, Casita Maria, Boricua College, and many others. All of these organizations were represented by their executive directors on the APRED board. APRED was created because of the pressing needs and a need to advocate on behalf of the social, economic, and political needs of the Puerto Rican community in New York City. During that time, the Puerto Rican community in New York City was at a crossroad, fighting for survival in a city that deemed them invisible, second-class citizens without hope. Our families were suffering, our organizations were underfunded, ignored, and classified as unworthy of a seat at any table, be it social or political. Our children were failing, dropping out, turning to the streets, turning to drugs. Our neighborhoods were reeling. We had little representation anywhere and none on the Board of Education. Our people, our culture, our language and heritage were constantly disparaged and disrespected. It was within this context of despair and disbelief that in a progressive city like New York, people were marginalized, misunderstood, and mistreated the way our Puerto Rican and Latino community was. That Comité Noviembre emerged. Comité Noviembre emerged as a movement to push back on the stereotypes and discrimination in our communities by expressing the best of our creative arts and culture, by showcasing our rich heritage and history, by celebrating our resilience and the enormity of our contributions to the city and the country, and by showcasing as well our organizational community and our political power. The creation of Comité Noviembre claimed for the first time ever November as Puerto Rican Heritage Month. And it did so, not passively, but with action, service, and accomplishment at its core. It was during the struggle to demand respect for our community that very first year, 1987, that as a community united at all levels, we achieved the impossible, getting the mayor of the city of New York to finally see the light and appoint a Puerto Rican to the Board of Education. That did not come easily, but the community was galvanized behind the efforts of key leaders, organizations that were all part of Comité Noviembre, ASPIDA, APRED, AHA, El Centro, IPRE, and many others that worked diligently while featuring our first year's Comité Noviembre theme, building on our heritage to create the future, our children, our youth. The movement was born. In 1987, It was through the graphic art of the great Puerto Rican creative Nestor Otero, who passed away this year, that Comité Noviembre expressed our strength, culture, competency, resilience, and resolve to demand respect and achieve our goals, and also to make certain that we were represented on the Board of Education. Nestor later went on in future years to create amazing graphic art for Comité Noviembre. In 1988, the Comité Noviembre theme was empowerment, de las sombras al poder, from the shadows to the light, el pitirre. In 1989, the theme was Cuenta con nosotros, featuring the upcoming 1990 census created by artist and now member of Comité Noviembre, Luis Cordero Santoni. In 1990, the Comité Noviembre theme revolved around the plebiscite, reminding all of us that aquí y allá todos somos puertorriqueños, created by Nestor as well. And in 1991, Comité Noviembre took on the issue of disrespect from the media towards our Puerto Rican women, nuestras puertorriqueñas, with the theme La Mujer Puertorriqueña, La Verdadera Borinqueña, created by the late artist Ernesto Ramos Nieves. These formative years were very important in successfully establishing Comité Noviembre as a great and accomplished movement that to this day deserves respect, support, and accolades. My personal history as an activist and advocate for my community is solid. My calling, my career, and passion for working to create, build, and sustain community organizations is well documented. However, as a Puerto Rican, I am proudest of having formed Comité Noviembre through its formative years and having tasked an amazing woman, Teresa Santiago, who was part of the creation of Comité Noviembre from its very inception, to take on the leadership at a very tough time. She has been true to the core values of the movement and has taken it even further. The celebration of Puerto Rican Heritage Month has taken hold as an enduring and positive movement to help our people create opportunities, break the negative stereotypes, and empower our youth through education, service, and pride in their heritage and accomplishments. It has been my joy over the last 4 decades, since I began in my own community in the Lower East Side, and later throughout the city, the state, and beyond, to have worked with so many organizations and so many leaders. The motivation to help my people and others has taken me to many places, and in the process, I have accomplished a great deal that I am proud of. Founding Comité Noviembre back then was an amazing privilege for me, and more so to this day, when I still have the honor of being able to help create organizations and work with young leaders and communities. It has made it all the sweeter. Finally, I want to thank Comité Noviembre for this recognition, especially Teresa Santiago, who took la batuta and ran with it and never looked back. This movement could not have fallen into better hands than yours, Teresa, and I am eternally grateful for that. This is your legacy. To Angel Santini, a constant support from the beginning with Ypres and on his own as well. And also to my family, particularly my husband Herson Cabreras, who helped create Comité Noviembre and was always there with us, and who has been my partner in all I have done always throughout the last 47 years. Comité Noviembre, congratulations. I love you, God bless you, and all of your supporters. Pa'lante siempre.